Okay, so let's create another class called pizza. So let's say file new. So we are going to class called pizza, right? And in this class, in this class, let's first you need to think about all the attributes, right, of pizza. So what one of the attributes is probably brand name, right? Like say Domino and Pizza Hut and etc. So it's going to be brand name. What other attributes? You can think of this the instance variable, the attribute. Another one is a size, right? Whether it's a large, medium, small size, and maybe the number of toppings, right? Number of toppings could be another attributes. Then what else? The price of the pizza, yes. So I know that there's many more attributes, but for the just for this example, for the simplicity, let's just say we have these 4 attributes. But that means, so that means to initialize this variable, right? We need to have a constructor. So def definitions double underscore init and double underscore and then self. Then let's see the brand name, right? So for the brand name, I'll just say brand. But this is an input parameter to this constructor. So let's just build a constructor to initialize all the, basically initialize the values, right? Basically they initialize all these instance variables. So that's why we need a constructor, right? And then brand, and then we have size, and then a number of toppings, I'll just say num_t, and then for the price, I'll just say just price p, or the price. By the way, you can use the syntax we learned from the previous lecture. In case, let's say, if you do not provide any value for this input parameters, right, by default, but basically you can set the default value for this variables. So brand name, in case the main does not provide anything, in case then it's going to be just null. And the size is I'll say by default the size is going to be small. The number of toppings is 0. In case this num_t, number of toppings, is not provided, the value of the number of toppings is not provided, then by default num_t is 0. And okay, so let's just create another class. So I'm going to create another class called pizza. So the capital P, pizza, right? And then let's think about all the attributes. Right? What are the attributes? So the brand name, right? Whether it's a Domino and Pizza Hut, so you have a brand name, right? That's one of the good characteristics. Brand name. So what else? We have size, whether it's a small or large, and then we have the number of toppings. So how many toppings, right? This pizza, you know. So the number of toppings, I think, is a very important attribute. And then the next one is the price, of course. So I know that there are many more, but let's just stop here. So we have, let's say, 4 attributes. So the first step is always you need to build a constructor because you need to initialize this instance variables, right? So let's just build a constructor, def init, and then self, right? And then let's say brand name, so I'll just say brand, and then for the size I'll just use a size, and then number of toppings I say numt, number of toppings, and then price is just price, right? By the way, these are what? These variables are input parameter to the constructor, right? Now I'll say self dot underscore brand name. By the way, now this is what? This is the brand underscore brand name is the instance variable, right? Instance variable of this pizza is equal to this guy, brand name, and then we have another instance variable size, right? So whenever you use instance variable of particular class, then you need to always use a self, right? Self dot underscore the size is equal to size, this guy, size, and then self dot underscore number of toppings, I'll just say number of topping, topping, is equal to numt, this one. And then underscore num topping is the instance variable, right? One of the attributes here. Now we need to initialize the last attribute, which is the price. So self underscore price is equal to the price. This guy, price. Okay, I'm done with building the constructor. So if you have a basically constructor, at least you can create an object, right? So let's just create object. In the main, right? In the main, I'm going to create the first pizza. In the main, first, let's say I need a reference variable, right? Which can point to an object. So I'll just say p1. We can say pizza1. It's up to you. It's a variable name. So I'll just say p1, the first pizza, and then what I have to use what? Class name to create an object. So that's a pizza. And so now first for the values, right? In the values for the input parameter, you have to provide what? Brand name, size, number of toppings, and price, right? So for the brand name, I'll say Domino, right? And then for size, I'm going to say large size, and the next one is what? Number of toppings. So let's say number of toppings is 3. And then the price is what? The price is, let's say, $10.25. Now you just create a first object, pizza, right? So let's say the first object is created, right? And the reference variable, so it's pointing to the first object. So then let's just create another object, p2. This is second object, pizza, right? And then this time the pizza. And then the size is a small. And the number of toppings is, I'll say 2, and then price is the small size, so it's just $8 and maybe $8.99. Okay, so that's the second pizza. And of course you can create another pizza, P3. This time this is the domino, and then this time is small size and only one topping, so its price is much cheaper. Let's say $6.99. Okay, so now this is what? This is the second object is created, and then you create third one. Third object is created. Okay, and at this point, let's just run this first. If I have any syntax error, so let's just run this module. So I'll just say test3. Let's say pizza. Pizza example 1. Good. So I don't have any error. So that means I successfully, right, create 3 different pizza. Okay. So now we so, but the problem, not the problem. Now this is like, if you look at the class definition, this is like it has like a bare minimum, meaning it has only constructor. So at least you need to create. Since you have a 4 instance variable, so next step is what? You need to create 4 get method, right, for these variables. And then you need to create 4 set method to change this instance variables. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to create the set method and get method in the next lecture.